Hey, it's time for another one of our personal Game of the Year 2019 categories. Today, I'm going to talk about one that's pretty near and dear to my heart. It's Best Spaceship. I think on some level, all I've ever wanted out of a video game is to give me my own spaceship. I think there's a couple reasons for that. There's just sort of the very childish wish fulfillment aspect of, hopping in your own X-Wing and just kind of zooming around the galaxy. But on top of that, there is the kind of more expansive idea of infinite exploration. Just the ability to, space is infinite. There's endless stuff to see out there, and the idea that you can get behind the controls of your very own spaceship and go out and see all of it, endlessly compelling, of course. But also, no game is actually infinite. Content creation has a cost. So maybe a little unrealistic to expect that out of your average video game spaceship. Still, there were some pretty cool ones this year. I mean, they served a few different purposes. Not all spaceships are created equal, it turns out, in games. But let's take a look at some of my favorites right now. First up is Astroneer. This is kind of a weird one because as spaceships go, you don't really do a lot with it. I mean, you repair it, you build engines for it, fuel it, and that kind of thing, but you don't interact with it directly, really. You just kind of hop into it and hit a button and it just takes you to the place you want to go. It's not really an interactive spaceship so much. If this was, best my first spacefaring engineering kit playset, this game would run away with this category because there's tons of fun space doohickeys to plug into each other in this game and, make little solar-powered contraptions work and all kinds of fun material science and stuff like that, but the spaceship might as well just kind of be a menu that you access to say, hey, I want to go to that planet, and then you just watch kind of a cutscene. You don't really do a lot with it. It gets the job done. It gets you from planet to planet, except for actually that time that I went to another planet and then promptly ran out of fuel and couldn't leave. So maybe not my favorite spaceship of the year, but it's pretty cool for what it does. All right, next up we've got the Unreliable from The Outer Worlds, which I feel like falls into the subcategory of Best Enterprise. I mean, that's the kind of spaceship. Okay, let's say the Normandy from Mass Effect is the gold standard of what I'm talking about here. It's the expansive living space in space. not just an X-Wing. It's not just a cockpit with a faster than light drive on it. It's like an actual, there are conference rooms on this kind of spaceship. There are living quarters, a crew, people congregate. You get to know the people that you're spacefaring with. It's the Normandy, the Enterprise, the kind of communal spaceship, let's say. I think the one from The Outer Worlds is pretty good. It's a little drab inside, there's not a lot to see. It is a good place to kind of run into your crew a little bit, although I didn't find there to be that many different conversations that take place or just kind of random encounters with people. You could definitely, head down to the repair bay and chat with Parvati here and there, or find some people sharing a drink or whatever. But also, the just kind of basic fantasy of having your ship is not really fulfilled by the way that you kind of navigate in this ship. You just kind of, it's just kind of a menu, you kind of move an icon around and click a button and you're just there. The actual space travel aspect of this ship is pretty minimal. So, it fits that archetype of the bigger, more expansive spaceship pretty well, but pretty by the numbers. So, it's kind of middle of the list, let's say. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I think it's the Mantis. I really like that weird, that horizontal vertical fin design that thing has when it takes off and lands. You can see that thing rotate. I don't know what purpose that serves, but that's pretty cool. Also kind of an Enterprise. It's got some room inside of it. It's pretty similar to the Outer Worlds ship. Better sense of travel. For sure. I mean, it's interesting because they actually just use it to hide loads. I mean, you literally can just walk around in the ship and watch the whole kind of hyperdrive sequence play out as it's loading in the next planet you're going to, but they do it really well because you know, you go up to a table, you pick your destination, you kind of hit go, and then it just happens, and like you get the whole liftoff sequence. You know, you can see out the front of the cockpit, like you can actually see the ship rise above the landscape and kind of head into space and then go to light speed. Like that's pretty cool to see. I mean, there's not a lot else to do while you're en route, though. I mean, you hear a few conversations between your crew members, and that fleshes out some of the characterizations a little bit, and that's cool, but you only ever pick up like 3 crew members in that game, so they kind of truncate the experience of having a space posse and getting to hang out on a ship and go places and stuff. But yeah, I really actually was very impressed by that sense of flying from place to place. So like, hey, let's say the Mantis punching above its weight. All right, last spaceship on the list. It's the one from Outer Wilds. This is a weird one because it's not really at all what I am coming to a video game spaceship for. I think I'm looking a little more for the kind of swashbuckling space adventure type of deal, and this is more like they tried to set out and make a 3D version of Lunar Lander, I think. Outer Wilds is an interesting game in general because like it incorporates astrophysics and, you know, elements within that, like gravity and things like that, exactly when it wants to, and kind of ignores them when it doesn't. But the point is that in a lot of cases, you do have to worry about things like gravity. The game uses this very, I use that in quotes, very realistic propulsion model. You know, it's not your typical video game spaceship where it's hold throttle and move, let off throttle and stop. Like, you know, once you fire rockets in a direction, you're going to keep going in that direction until you provide a countering force in the other direction. So you can pick up speed in this game without realizing it, and then just kind of be hurtling past your target with no ability to slow down in time to get where you're trying to go. It's a really interesting flight model that is like clunky, I think, by design. I think that's kind of what they were going for. They wanted you really to feel sort of like you were largely at the mercy of forces much larger than yourself. That's my read on the whole thing. But it does require a lot of nuance, surprisingly, you know? Kind of touching down very cleanly in this game is like the hardest thing to do, or at least it was at the beginning, you know, because you're just slamming around into stuff, banging your ship up, sustaining a lot of damage. When you want that elegant, you know, just kind of like apply just enough thrust to just like kind of very softly touch down. But you know, it takes a little bit of practice to achieve that. But again, not really kind of the very fun, over-the-top spaceship that I was looking for, but it definitely gave me the most satisfaction operating a spaceship. Like, you know, being able to go anywhere at any time. It's kind of the No Man's Sky thing, right? I want to see my spaceship sitting there and just be able to get in it and fly to another planet at will whenever I feel like it, and this game definitely gave me that. With a lot of nuance and technique to it. And a lot of ridiculous situations, as I didn't always handle the ship very well. So yeah, I think this is, again, pretty unconventional winner, I think, but I'm gonna say that Outer Wilds offered the best spaceship of 2019. Thanks Outer Wilds Ventures for the spaceship, and thank you for watching. Tetris 99 is the subject of this personal Game of the Year 2019 category, specifically Best Tetris 99 Skin. I played so much more of this game than I ever would have thought possible this year. I was playing it pretty much every night after work when I got home for a long time. They started rolling out these weekend Maximus Cup events after a little bit, and had some pretty good unlockable skins in there, but it was very much a, hey, this is a 3-day event. If you don't get this over the weekend, you're gonna miss it. So I came into this video thinking I had every event skin from this year until I found out right beforehand that I missed a couple. So the Luigi and Pokemon skins are not eligible for this award because I didn't know those cups were happening, and sadly I do not have access to them, which makes me way more irrationally angry than it should, which probably just tells you how much I like Tetris 99. They patched a bunch more skins in here late in the year and gave you like daily quests where you could earn tickets to unlock them. And I also have not done the work to unlock a bunch of these generic ones, such as Fancy, or Scary Castle, or Elegance. Some of these, I don't know, maybe someday I'll get these. 15 tickets is not nothing in this game. It does take a little bit. So yeah, I've got most of the event skins. I unlocked the Nintendo-themed skins with tickets that I could, which are these three. So yeah, what is the best Tetris 99 skin of the year? I don't even know if I can answer that question myself right now, so let's go through these. All right, Donkey Kong theme, you know, the music straight out of the arcade, like you gotta have that, of course. I think that is a pretty strong aspect of this theme. I think the visual treatment is maybe a little busy. I feel like the kind of pixelated girders and ladders and stuff really get in the way of some of the player boards. Also, I mean, you know, the music is as faithful as it is, kinda gets a little old after a while. Not nearly my favorite, so I don't know. Good effort on the Donkey Kong skin, but let's move on. Zelda skin, you have to have a Zelda skin. I mean, come on, it's a Nintendo game. Really into this tilt shift effect on the background. I think that is an inspired choice. I think this remix of the Zelda theme is kind of bad though. I really am not into this music very much at all. I don't know what they were thinking with this. There's something a little, I cannot put my finger on it, but I really am not the biggest fan. I think the music like kind of kills this theme for me. Also, I think the visual treatment on the blocks, like some of them having this pattern on them and some of the others kind of not, is maybe also not my favorite. I think this Zelda theme is a land of contrasts, let's say. It is both good and bad. It is definitely not the best Tetris 99 skin of 2019. All right, of the 3 Nintendo game-themed skins in this game that you can unlock with tickets, meaning the ones they patched in more recently, the Mario theme is by far the best. I mean, there is just no comparison. Great rendition of the music. Nice clean look to the blocks. You know, I like the, well, let me build up a thing here. I really like the sound effects on the line clears are really nice in this one. Kind of just a crisp, kind of, yeah, listen to that. I mean, that's not even a Tetris, and like, that just makes me want to get more lines. I just want to hear some more of that. Might just keep playing a little more Mario here. Let's try to build up a, oh, I've screwed this up. Try to build up a Tetris here just for the sake of completeness. All right, after a little work cleaning up my board, I've got a nice, clean Tetris ready thing here. Let's just hear what it sounds like. Yeah, good sound effects in this one. Easily my Nintendo theme of choice once that pack came out with all those daily quests. Spent a lot of time with this Mario theme. Good stuff. All right, just a quick survey of the special themes, which is what they called the Weekend Maximus Cup event themes. We've got Splatoon here, we've got Fire Emblem, and we've got Kirby. I'm not gonna jump into any of these because they're not my favorite. And maybe that says more about my personal affinity for these properties or lack thereof, but you know, none of the music really did it for me. The art, I feel like, is a little bit much. You know, nice to have some variety in this game, for sure. I'm glad I unlocked these, but not themes that I would play with on a regular basis. All right, you knew exactly where this was going. I think there's really only one realistic, credible choice for this category, and it is this one. You know, this is the version of Tetris that put Tetris really, truly on the map, I think. I think we're all comfortable saying that. And just look at it, man. It's like, this is one of the event themes. You know, you had to unlock this, so you may have missed your chance earlier in the year, but like I said, you can grind 30 tickets and get it now. It's just, look at this. I mean, like, such a clean presentation, like nice, pretty accurate, I think, shade of green. It's kind of recreating the ugly LCD on the Game Boy. Just spot on Tetris sound, like straight out of childhood. I think the box art, the Tetris box art being in the background, very nice touch. And the music, I mean, the music is just the music. Like, they did everything they needed to do with this theme. They could have, this was the first event theme, they could have stopped here. No complaints from me. If you're gonna unlock one Tetris 99 theme this year, make it the Game Boy theme. Now they just need to patch in the ability to get those Luigi and Pokemon skins, and my life will be complete. Oh, also, put in a shuffle feature, Nintendo, if you're listening. This game, as much as I have hyped this Tetris theme, it would be nice to be able to kind of just randomly switch back and forth, match to match. You should just be able to say, hey, shuffle all the themes I have and give me whatever. That would be a great thing to have, but congratulations to the Game Boy skin, our Tetris 99 skin of the year. Control is such a memorable game. It's got some of the just best, most fascinating, most detailed world building I think I've ever seen in a game. I mean, this is not, I swear this is not a backhanded compliment to Control, but the documents, the collectibles, are some of the best stuff in this game. And again, that is really just a testament to how incredibly well written and intriguing a lot of that stuff is. So in that spirit, I bring you another personal Game of the Year 2019 category, the Federal Bureau of Control Redaction of the Year, brought to you by the Freedom of Information Act. I didn't actually FOIA these documents, in case you're wondering. I picked up a bunch of filing cabinets with my mind and threw them around. One of Control's biggest strengths to me, I think, is the way that it creates this really believable, mundane, kind of workaday office culture. Just this really bland layer of government agency work that underpins all the completely insane, surreal things that are going on. Like, that contrast is crucial to the atmosphere that they create with this game. And to that end, I'm going to say that travel costs from the correspondence section is my first document of the year here. There aren't actually any redactions in this one, but let's just not, we're not talking about that. The thing I love about this is the little bit at the end. It's just this kind of informal expense report where even in this insane reality where the more you think about things, the more real they become, here is a great example of a mid-level functionary who's basically just trying to game the system to get work to pay for his booze. It's, you know, there's a little bit, drinking those little whiskeys is my ritual to help identify places of power. Sure it is, buddy. Yep, I gotcha. Yep. All right, now we're getting into some good solid redacting. I think that's one of the things the game does so well is what it chooses to omit from a lot of these documents is just perfectly strategically placed to make you wonder, just to create more questions than the document answers. They're really good about that stuff. And yet, here is an extreme example. I had half a mind to take this screenshot into Photoshop and see if that redaction lines up just pixel perfect with the phrase, "I'm a plaid suit in a pinstripe world," but what if it doesn't? What could be under there? What if it's a different phrase? You look at this document and you think that you know exactly what they're doing and maybe that's the joke, but maybe you're wrong. That's just like, this document is like Control in a nutshell. This stuff is so good. I don't know who came up with this stuff, but you deserve a raise. Next document comes from Case Files, subsection Objects of Power. I think all of the Objects of Power are great in this game, just because they're another good example of how they blend the mundane and the extraordinary. They're fun to encounter in the game, and I love the fact that they seed the game with documents before you actually see the genuine objects. Like, they create a mystique around these things so that when you actually run into you know, a refrigerator later on, you're like, oh my god, it's that refrigerator. But this document about this safe was the thing in this game that I read that raised my hackles more than anything else. It's just this, you know, unassuming safe that can't be damaged or opened or anything, but then you get to this last paragraph. Blood occasionally emerges from seam around object's door. Tests confirm the blood is not human. X-rays taken of the object indicate that something is trapped inside, though the images are always blurred, which indicates the contents of the object are moving. Like, it's so creepy, just the image. Something in that safe that is not dead. There's something in there writhing around. What could it be? Ugh. The next document is not a document at all, but rather a tape from the multimedia section, subsection Darling Presentations, entitled Altered World Events. I had to get some Casper Darling in here. I mean, this is not a redacted document, but come on. All these videos are so good. This one in particular, because I just love his delivery and the little hand gesture on Altered World Events. I'm just gonna roll it. and we'll get into it.
There is a curious correlation with the yet unknowable forces intruding upon our world in the form of altered world events.
He's so enthusiastic about it. Like, I love this video because like that felt like this really obvious example of capital A acting. But also, he and his Coke bottle glasses are so into the paranatural. Like, these videos are just so great. Everything that he's in this game is great.
Popular culture,
just clearly overly devoted to a fault to his work, and very excited to tell you about it. So yeah, I could have picked any of these videos, but I love his demeanor in this one in particular. The one where he strips down to his underwear because he's becoming a non-corporeal being slowly was also in contention. I really appreciate the fact that he's like kind of a beefcake scientist under there. This guy's cool. This is probably my favorite pure example of Casper Darling monologue to camera.
We'll struggle to find the answers to these hard questions. Or die trying.
Okay, finally we come to my Federal Bureau of Control redaction of the year with another document that's not actually redacted, which is a pair of witness testimonies about the Ordinary Altered World event from Research and Records. As much as most of the collectibles in this game just flesh out the contours of this world generally, they drop very story-relevant documents just at the right time to really just kind of build the mystique about what's going on. You know, the whole game you are sort of slowly, you know, uncovering what happened in Jessie's childhood that really brought her to this place and kind of tied her brother up in all of this and is just making her pursue this bizarre paranormal stuff. And it's a lot more questions than answers for most of the game until you really start getting into the meat of the story toward the back half. And getting into the last act, and these documents, there's actually, I mean, there's 4 documents about this event, but it's really the Stage 2 and Stage 4A ones that really start getting into the nature of what that slide projector actually was, and what they did with it, that really just stuck with me, you know? I love the way they've got the children have this vernacular, you know, where they named all the slides. They've got the temple slide, which is where the Not Mother lives, who was feeding the town bullies her milk and turning them into dung monkeys. You know, they make reference to, you know, they build up characters in like in the space of 4 documents. They introduce this character, Nosebleed Neil, who was their childhood friend, who very clearly is like the classic bullied kid who comes into some kind of like significant weird power that he then uses to kind of give the bullies what for, you know, basically. But then Neil showed up. Neil looked like a dog, like a melted dog, but I knew it was him. These things, like they raise as many questions as they answer about what happened in the main character's past, and it just creates such just a feeling of like endless mystique around like, you know, what were those slides? What were those dimensions they were, you know. Always better to leave more questions hanging in the air, I think, than try to provide answers for everything. And these documents do such a good job of doing exactly that, filling in just enough backstory to really propel you forward, but really keep you wondering. And I think it's for that reason that these Ordinary AWE documents are, I think, the best documents, redacted or not, in Control for all the kind of heavy lifting and the storytelling that they do. Control's a crazy game, and I really can't wait for that DLC. Y'all did something special for Remedy.